guys, welcome to Bridging the Realm. Today I have my special guest with me, Edwin Courtenay, who we had again in October. And if you haven't watched that episode, please go back and watch it another time. It's a really great episode where we covered what Halloween is all about. We spoke about ghosts and what they are. We spoke about some of the guides and what the role of the guides are, as well as angels. And yeah, so if you haven't watched that, please do go back and watch it. But today Edwin will be talking a little bit more about his new book, Angels to Go. So we'll be focusing on what angels are and what their role is, especially during this time of the year, during Christmas, and how we can also work with them if we want to. So for any of you who are not familiar with Edwin's work, he is a spiritual teacher, an author, a visionary artist, a clairvoyant, and a channel who works with ascended masters, angels, and old gods. He is a practicing pagan who identifies himself as a cunning man, or one of the cunning folk, who works with all forms of natural magic. Edwin, as I just mentioned, has just recently published his 7th book, Angels to Go. And today I'm really excited to get into this topic because I think it's one that a lot of people are interested in, but don't quite know much about. So we're also going to be finishing with 3 readings from people who have shared the post previously. So Edwin will be channeling some of your guardian angels and will be delivering messages from them to you. So, Edwin, thank you so much for being here again. Welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
After having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're here and we are, yeah, good to go. So, how is everything with you? How is it going so far with the angels and all the preparation?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. The new book, which came out in October, is doing very, very well. I'm really pleased with that. I had an absolute ball writing it. Angels are my absolute one true love, and when I was writing the book I remember thinking, why am I feeling so happy and so positive? And I think it was because I was spending so much time connecting to their energy when I was writing the book, and they bring great joy to me. So writing about them and talking about them is fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's such an interesting book, and as I mentioned to you before, when I was reading it, I was quite surprised because I realized that there are a lot of things that are not really as I imagined, or this typical idea that we have of the angels and what they look like and what they are is a little bit different to what you've discovered. So that was quite interesting to get into. So tell me first about what was your first experience of angels? I find it really fascinating. And I know you spoke a little bit about that in our first interview, but just for anyone who might not have seen it.
Yeah, so I, just before I kind of really started on my spiritual path, I'd decided that I was an atheist, really. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in angels. I believed in something. I believed in some kind of divine force, but certainly nothing that had a Christian appearance. So I read an article in a magazine called Prediction, and it talked about a ritual for invoking the 4 archangels to create a space of psychic protection, a sacred space. And it said in the book that you could approach it from 2 directions. You could believe that the angels were real, or you could believe that the angels were manifestations of your own inner psychological landscape. And that's what I, at the time, chose to believe. So I practiced the ritual. It was quite late at night. It was when I was about 18, 19 years old. I was living with my parents then. So I practiced the reading at night in my home and the ritual. And these angels appeared, and that didn't surprise me. I'd already been developing my clairvoyance then for 2 years. I was seeing spirit quite regularly, so it didn't surprise me that they appeared, but they didn't appear in the way in which they were meant to, according to the ritual in the magazine, and in accordance with the visualization that I'd employed. They appeared naked, and they were meant to be robed in robes of specific color. So I stopped the ritual and I started it again, and the same thing happened. And I thought, well, what does this mean? What is my psyche trying to tell me if these angels are manifesting with no clothes on? Am I kind of psychologically damaged? Is there something wrong here? And the second time round, whilst I was pondering this, one of the angels, the Archangel Michael, started to speak to me and said, you know, we've appeared this way in order to make it very clear to you that we're not manifestations of your psyche, we are real beings. And so that opened up a conversation with these presences, which completely shattered my existing belief system and started me to realize that angels were real and that they were universal spirits, that they didn't belong to Christianity, but that they belonged to everyone, irrespective of your religious persuasion. And we really went from there. I started channeling them. I started channeling other people's guardian angels in consultation. And it's been a conversation that's been going for, 30 years, I suppose.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I find it really interesting that they show themselves to you in a way that, you know, you couldn't just disregard them as something of your imagination, because obviously you wouldn't have expected them to.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, basically be in that form. But that's really, so that will, I guess that kind of, do you think that's a good way for people to know whether something's coming from their own imagination or it's actually manifesting for itself? That if something quite surprising, like
absolutely. I think, you know, if you're meditating or if you're endeavoring to practice clairvoyance and you see something which is not what you imagined or what you had expected, that's really something that needs to be paid attention to, because in some way, shape or form, the spiritual world or the universe is underlining the importance of something by presenting it to you in a way that you weren't expecting. So yeah, that definitely worked for me. It started me looking at angels in a very different way.
Wow, so interesting. So what would you say is the purpose of the angels?
So my understanding is that the angels are extensions of divine will and consciousness, that we need to think of them a little bit like our fingers and toes. They have no free will of their own. They are extensions of the divine will, and they help the divine fulfill divine purpose and the function of divine intention. So in much the same way that we have organs in our bodies, that we have antibodies, that we have blood cells that enable our body to thrive and function and grow, the angels serve that purpose for the divine in regards to the universe. And in the way in which our fingers and toes are instinctively at our command in order to do what we want and need to do, the angels are instinctively at the command of the divine source in order to do what it wants and needs to do in order to ensure that the universe continues, and also in order to ensure that the universe continues to evolve.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. And also you mentioned in your book that they're not here to serve us specifically, but they're more here to serve the divine. So I think that's a good distinction to just have in mind when we do pray to angels for anything. And, you know, you mentioned at some point in your book that it's not good to just ask them for the most insignificant things, because they're very huge, big beings, right? That they're really meant for work that is a bit more important, like healing and things like that.
Yeah, I think there was within the spiritual community in the 1980s, 90s, when people really started to explore angels, we got into a bit of a bad habit of calling upon them for trivial things. You know, there is always the car parking angel that people used to invoke in order to secure themselves a space in the car parking lot. But these are beings that are hardwired to the intelligence of the divine. They are potentially massively powerful conduits for miracle and magic. And it seems ridiculous to ask them for things that we ourselves are more than equipped to manifest ourselves. So we should think of them more as these cosmic beings and call upon them for loftier favors and miracles and guidance and wisdom rather than the mundane stuff.
Yeah, totally. I agree. That's a really good. And I have to say, when I was reading that, I was thinking to myself, oh, guilty. You know, every now and then I have called on my angels, like, please help me for this really silly thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely made me take a step back and think, okay, maybe I should try to do things myself more. Yeah, definitely. So in terms of let's talk about how they look from your perspective and from everything you found, because you actually what I find really interesting is that you get a lot of your information from actually communicating with the angels, not just reading books or, you know, passing on information from other people. So you've actually asked them for yourself, which is really, you know, firsthand kind of knowledge.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about that, and what is the original, you know, how they actually look in real life.
So the first thing I think that's important to know in regards to the way in which they appear is that they communicate a great deal through the way in which they appear, and they will appear very differently from person to person. So when they appear to you, you have to take note of the colors that they're wearing and the type of clothes that they're wearing and the way that their face looks and the color of their wings, if they have wings, and the color of their aura, and how those things make you feel, because the angels are using their appearance to make a connection with you and to communicate information to you. So my guardian angel, Uraniel, who was, apart from the archangels, one of the major first contacts I made, he used to appear to me as a tall, broad, bearded man in his middle ages, dressed in an olive green suit. And the color of the costume was important. The fact that he was wearing a suit, not a robe, was important. The fact that his appearance made me feel protected and kind of comforted was important. And years later, when I asked the angels about their appearance and what they really looked like, they showed me a vision of their energetic form. And their energetic form was a combination of sacred geometry and color, which was shifting and moving, a kind of holographic a pattern. So I could see the platonic solid shifting inside them. I could see these incredible, vivid, crystalline colors that were morphing and shifting and changing. And there was something also quite elemental about those images. And it made me think about the Old Testament descriptions of the angels, where they're described as columns of fire or tornadoes of air. And that made perfect sense because there was this very elemental feel to them. So if we want to know what they truly look like, they truly look like manifestations of vibration and frequency. And color is a manifestation of vibration and frequency, and sound is, and sacred geometry is, and sacred mathematics or numerology is. So their true form is a combination of these manifestations of frequency and vibration, which we would call universal language.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I find it really fascinating how they appear different to different people depending on, well, first, you know, their own archetypal image of what an angel is, but also
Absolutely.
how also to have a specific meaning for that specific person. So it will be different to each person.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, you know, in general now, people assume that the angels are going to appear as winged beings. And that's really interesting because nowhere in the Bible does it mention that angels have wings. That came much, much later. And I think that was probably because maybe one of the first visionaries or prophets or clairvoyants who saw the angels saw this emanation of light radiating from them, which is their connection to the universal web. And their consciousness made the assumption that that was wings, because with clairvoyance, you're always in a way working against your own preset psychological expectations, and you're always trying to make sense of what you're seeing and make association with what you're seeing. So often your mind will turn something into something else in order to enable you to make sense of it. And I think that's what happened. And then this vision was shared, and very quickly caught on that angels have wings. And so now usually angels are seen with wings. But it's interesting to note that nowhere in the Bible are they described as having wings. In fact, early Christian depictions of the angels had them as having horns and not wings. And then later on, when Christianity wanted to demonize the old gods of paganism, and they acknowledged that those gods had horns, they changed the depiction of angels and gave them halos and wings. And there are very old paintings of angels that have been x-rayed, and it's been discovered that they were originally painted with horns, and those horns were painted over with halos and wings at a much later point in time. And you can still find old woodcuts of angels and saints that are depicted with horns.
Wow, that's so interesting. And yeah, horns is quite, I mean, because we normally do associate them with like the devil and things like that. So to know that angels used to originally be painted with horns, that's quite controversial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting. So tell me a bit about what role the angels play in during Christmas especially, and why is this time so important, and how we can possibly work with them if we wanted to.
Yeah. So angels are very high vibrational beings, and connecting with us during the year is not an easy thing for them necessarily. They have to push through the lower frequency vibrations of our fear and our irritation and our tiredness and our anger. So they are always reaching down to us, and we are always reaching up to them. But during Christmas time, because so many people think about angels, because they're on Christmas cards and they're mentioned in Christmas carols and they're depicted on television and on wrapping paper, the whole consciousness of the planet, whether they are believing in Christian things or not, creates an easier space for angels to interface with mankind. So they are closer to us during this time rather than at any other time of the year, and communication and connection is so much easier. So during this time, we really need to be reaching out to them through prayer, through meditation, through invocation, through the lighting of candles. Candles have always been really important in connecting with angels and in regards to angel magic. They form a kind of bridge of light, the candle. It's a physical manifestation of the spiritual elements. When we light a candle, it helps to pull the two realms together. So now is the perfect time to ask them for help and assistance, and to ask them to strengthen their connection with us, so that once the Christmas period is over, that connection doesn't dissolve, but it stays strong. Now, our guardian angels are the closest angels to us. Our guardian angels are actually closer to us than even our spirit guides are, because they were created for us by the divine as expressions of divine love, and part of them is placed inside the soul. So there is a real intimate connection there between us and the guardian angel, and we might not ever be fully conscious of it, but they speak to us through our intuition and synchronicity and serendipity, and through our dreams and so on. So that is a really good point of connection to strengthen during Christmas time. But I remember years ago there was an advert on the television where the punchline for the advert was, "There's an app for that." Something crazy would happen in the advert, and then somebody would say, "There's an app for that." Well, this is absolutely true of the angels. There is an archangel for practically everything and anything, whether it's frost, whether it's the elements of earth, air, fire, and water, whether it's teaching, whether it's traveling, whether it's protection, whether it's nature. There are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of angels. So whatever the problem or the issue or the area that you're wanting to focus on or work with, you can reach out and ask for the archangel who governs that to step forward and help you and assist you. And if you want to go into the kind of minutiae of it, there are encyclopedias and dictionaries of angels that you can buy, and lots of resources online. And in the back of the book, Angels to Go, I created an appendix of 60 angels, some of which were well known and quite a few which are lesser known, just to try and get people to know about these other angels that are out there that are really helpful and beneficial, like the angel of stamina and strength, and the angel of support, and the angel of positivity. Because I think it's always going to be more powerful if you can address your plea or prayer directly to the presence. But if you don't know the angel's name, then just say, I'm wanting to connect with the angel of memory, or I'm wanting to connect with the angel of grief, and your guardian angel will connect you to the right presence. So I would say during this time, have a clear intention of what angel you're wanting to connect with and why. Take some time to do that where you're not going to be disturbed. Light a candle. If you know the color that's connected to the angel, then try and light the appropriate colored candle, but if not, a white candle will do. Say your prayer. Do it in ordinary language. Don't use rhyming couplets. Don't try and use ancient medieval these and thous. It's much better to do it from the heart, and then just sit back and be open to the connection happening. You might experience nothing, you might just experience energy, you might get ideas and thoughts flowing into your head, or visions flowing into your inner eye, but just have an open expectation to what it might be, and try not to put any preconditioning on that, and you might be surprised by the power and the connection that happens.
Oh wow, that's so interesting. And it's really I find it so crazy that, you know, there's actually an archangel for almost absolutely everything. So, and in your book, one that really stuck out to me was Apneo, for example, the archangel of songbird.
Yes.
I'm just going to read out what you said here in the book, because I find it so interesting. And you just mentioned, you said, she's an archangel who enables humanity to benefit from the hidden messages and power found in birdsong that most of us are deaf or blind to. So that's quite true, because we normally don't notice anything like a songbird or anything like that. But I have noticed whenever I am out in nature, and there's just something about hearing the birds singing, there's just something so calming about that. And it's really interesting that actually there is an archangel who's helping to deliver that to you.
Yes, yes. And I think also what's really interesting is there is a tendency for us to make the presumption that angels are, because they're ancient beings, are involved with the more ancient and archaic manifestations of our universe. But the universe is evolving, and it is evolving in direct relation to us. So the Archangel Raphael, who's the archangel of the element of air, and has always been connected to the mental body, to the mind, to communication and expression, has now become also the archangel of multimedia and the internet and FaceTime and emails and text messages, because that falls now under his remit of communication. So, you know, I always have these lovely visions in my head of Raphael turning up to work one morning and God saying to him, I'm going to send you on a course because now we need you to take over this part of the what's going on in the world, which is to do with communication through technology. So if you're having technological issues, Raphael is the person to call to. So we can apply the angels to other areas of our life that are very modern, because those angels will now be responsible or in charge of those other areas. And there are angels also of things that we might think are quite trivial. So there are angels of beautification, there are angels of cosmetics, there are angels of fashion. And we might think, well, that's crazy. Why would you want an angel of that? But from the divine perspective, beauty is a power, and it can empower us and it can empower other people. And if we saturate ourselves in beauty, it can strengthen certain elements of our holistic nature. So yeah, we shouldn't ever fall into the trap of thinking that certain things are trivial and certain things are beyond the angel's interest, because there might be a hidden spiritual perspective or agenda there. And we certainly shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking that angels are for the ancient world, because angels are very much for our modern times as well.
Oh wow, yeah, definitely. I think I'll definitely make a use of that. So if there's any day that I want to look particularly good, or I want to feel good, and I'll just call on the angel of beauty, and then
yeah, and it's really interesting because the angel of beautification, actually I can't remember their name now because they're a completely lesser known angel, but the angel of beautification was one of the angels that the Christian church demoted into being a demon. Because she was one of the angels who fell into a set called the Gregori. And the Gregori were said to have tempted mankind and laid with mankind and created a monstrous race of beings called the Nephilim. All of that is absolute nonsense. But the church created that myth to separate mankind from those angels that were teaching them what we would now call New Age or spiritual truths, and those things that the church was trying to steer mankind away from and trying to convince mankind were a sin. So within the Gregori, you get angels of beautification, but you also get angels of magic and angels of herbcraft and angels of crystals, all the things that the Catholic Christian church is now saying is a sin, but which we in the spiritual community are embracing. So yeah, if you go onto something like Wikipedia and type in Gregori or the Watchers, that was another name for these angels, you'll get a whole list of the angels, and you can see the name of the angels that's connected to beautification and herbs and magic and enchantment and so on.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So and with in terms of ways that we can call on them, it's really the main three ways of prayer, lighting a candle, and then ritual. These are the main.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, prayer, it's kind of fallen out of fashion a little bit, which is really unfortunate because it's an extraordinarily powerful thing to do and a really simple thing to do. You need no paraphernalia with it. You need no herbs. You need no candles. You can do it on the hoof. You can do it in the train, in a lift. You can do it in the car before you start your journey. And as I said earlier on, it doesn't require any learnt invocations or mantras. It can be completely from the heart, and it can be exceptionally powerful. But if you add those other elements to it, if you add a little bit of candlelight, if you add the right crystal, if you add the right incense, if you use a little bit of visualization, then you're adding layers that enable the prayer to become more powerful and more formulated and more crystallized.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what would you say for anyone who's kind of doing this for the first time? Are there any specific signs or signals that will tell them that the angel is there? Because I don't know, I always think in my mind, when I do a prayer or something, I'm like, are they here? Are they really here? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then you just, yeah.
So, I mean, people within the spiritual community talk a lot about feathers as being the symbol that the angels are near. And it is one of the symbols that the angels are near. But once again, we shouldn't think of it as just being exclusive to the angels. People talk about finding a white feather. Back in ancient Egypt, if you found a white feather, it was actually an indication that Thoth, the god Thoth, was near, or the goddess Mat was near. But it can be absolutely a signal that the angels are close by. I think that angels manifest quite a lot through the natural world. So what we would call an environmental reaction, an environmental response. So a sudden beam of light coming through the window, stepping outside and seeing a rainbow in the sky, a sudden gust of wind, rain hitting the window. Those things are really important. The candle flickering or shifting in its direction, or the incense shifting. But also you need to listen to your body. The spiritual presences communicate to us through the movement of energy that we feel inside ourselves. And angels are 99% love energy. That's how they describe themselves. So you're going to feel a response in the heart when the angels are near. You're going to feel elation, excitement, joy, expansion, vibration, tingling heat. But it should probably always be here around the heart center that you will feel it, rather than anywhere else.
Oh, it's funny, as you said that, all of a sudden I felt this like energy just from the top of my head. So I thought, oh, maybe that's my angel.
Well, and as I mentioned, that individuals will see angels individually. It is also important to know that we will all experience angels slightly individually as well. And our guardian angels in particular may have their own tell, which is an indication that they are around. And this, in traditional spiritual terms, is called the calling card of the presence. So once you identify the calling card of your presence, whenever you feel that or hear that or see that, you will know that it is that specific presence that is with you. So yeah, it is important when you're trying to establish your connection to your guardian angel to try and get them to reveal their calling card to you.
Okay. Oh, that's really key. Okay, we do have a message from the angels that you're also going to channel today, and 3 guardian angel messages. So do you want to do, which one do you want to do first?
I'll do the guardian angel messages first, if that's all right.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so the first person that we got and who luckily shared the post is Diane Matson Davis.
Okay.
Diane Matson Davis.
So what I would say as I'm tuning into these guardian angels is that although the messages, the information that I'm bringing forward is for these people, there may be some other information contained in those messages that will be beneficial for other people as well. So if you're listening, to the recording, don't kind of take this moment to go and make a cup of tea, because there might be something here that's going to be said that is kind of for you as well a little bit. So for Diane, the first thing that comes forward is that her guardian angel wants her to know that its calling card or tell is a sensation that she will feel just directly above her heart center in the higher heart region. And this could be a sense of pressure, it could be a warmth, it could be a tingling sensation, but it's in this part of the body that she needs to listen to. And when she feels something going on there, it will be an indication that it is the guardian angel who is drawing close and near. The second thing is that I see the presence of her guardian angel standing behind her, and it is holding her head within its hands, which suggests to me that at this moment in time it is supporting what's going on in her mental body, in her mind, in regards to her thought and thinking, in endeavoring to strengthen and focus her concentration so that any decisions that she's making now are the right decisions that she needs to make. Our guardian angels can be called upon to support our energy, to focus it and strengthen it in certain ways. They can draw near and they can blend their energy with our own in order to magnify this kind of force and intent. And the third thing I want to say in regards to Diana's guardian angel is that they take on the shape and form of a young male, a male in his early 20s, tall, pale-skinned, short-cut hair, kind of blonde-coloured. He has very, very pale blue eyes, rather brilliant white wings. He's dressed in a white robe, which is quite Roman-looking, sleeveless. He's barefoot, and the aroma that comes with him is benzoin, which is a very distinctive and rather kind of bitter aroma and smell. And he's saying that if she's wanting to work with a crystal to align with him, it would be best that she works with Larimar.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. Thank you for that. I hope Diane finds this really helpful. The second one is Helen Glover. Helen Glover.
Helen Glover. So Helen Glover's guardian angel is quite distinctly different. He's also presents himself as male. Guardian angels, well, angels in general are neither male nor female. They're androgynous beings. They're, I suppose, what we would these days describe as being non-binary. But they will present themselves as male or female sometimes in order, once again, to communicate something quite specific. So this angel presents himself as being very strong. He's very broad. He's very heavily built. He's quite tall. He's quite an imposing figure. He has a kind of a slight warrior vibe. And I suppose that the impression that he's trying to give is one of protection. So he seems to be imposing a field of protection around his ward and holding them safe within his energy. The color that he's radiating is a kind of deep magenta, and magenta is a color that often comes forward when people are drained or tired or going through imbalance or struggling with health sometimes, and it provides us with all the nutrients that we need in order to cleanse ourselves of bacteria, and also to fortify and strengthen the energy system so that we are not for want of anything that we need in order to recover. He gives me a name, and that name is Balthazar, and that name needs to be researched. So I would encourage you to type that into Google and type in Balthazar, meaning of the name, and see what that means, because the angel names are really key. And when we chant the angel names as a mantra, it enables the angel to draw closer to us, any angel, whether it's an archangel or the name of our guardian angel. And then the final thing that he brings forward is that he's saying that amethyst is the stone that will help her to connect with him, and violets are a flower that will help her to connect with him. And although he comes across as a very powerful figure, there's a great deal of gentleness with him and a great deal of love that comes with him as well. And he is wanting to kind of enwrap her in his energy to keep her safe, but also to support her and give her the strength that she needs to be nurtured and move forwards at the moment.
Oh wow, that's so nice. Yeah, actually I know Helen, so that totally makes sense that her guardian angel is quite a tough guy. she's very, yeah, she's a strong lady, so yeah, definitely makes sense. And the last one, but not least, is Sabrinas Scout. So Sabrinas Scout.
Okay, so Sabrina's guardian angel presents itself as female, tall, pale, quite a willowy figure, almost like a ballerina's build, very long-limbed, very kind of aquiline features, with quite long, straight, pale blonde white hair, large eyes, which once again are pale blue, dressed in a very kind of diaphanous robe that seems to be liquid-like in the way in which it's flowing in a kind of ethereal breeze, and the angel's wings are white. The angel's name is Raphael, Deraphhiel. So once again, that name needs to be researched, and not all, but a lot of angels' names are either have Hebrew root words or Latin root words or Aramaic root words. So it would be useful to type in what is the meaning of the word deraf in Aramaic, or what is the meaning of the word deraf in Hebrew, and see what comes up there. L on the end of an angel's name means of God. And not all angels have L at the end of their names. The angels that don't have L at the end of their names are usually angels that have been made by other angels, but angels that have been made directly by the divine have EL at the end of their name, which means that they've been made of God. Her guardian angel is wanting to redirect her attention to working more towards the arts, back towards the arts. Music particularly, but maybe other expressive forms like dance or drama or poetry. That's something that I think she's worked with in the past, but something that the guardian angel is wanting her to focus on working with again. Selenite is the crystal to help her align and connect with the angels. And
it's 11 o'clock.
Frankincense is the aroma that's important there as well. And the guardian angel is encouraging her to listen to her heart. That's where the guardian angel will make its connection, but also particularly in regards to listening to her heart for her own intuition. The small still voice that speaks within the heart will guide her when she is lost or needing direction or help or assistance. And the final thing that comes forward here is that the angel shows me a 7-pointed star, and I think that that might be the angel's calling card. That's what this lady can use as a contemplative symbol to connect with the guardian angel, but also that as and when she sees that symbol either in meditation or dreams or around her, it will be an indication that the guardian angel is wanting to make contact.
Oh wow, that was so detailed. Thank you, Edwin. That was really, really,
Right.
yeah, I'm sure they will find it really helpful. And it's interesting because I guess this is the one being that is with you throughout your whole life. So
Not only this lifetime, but all lifetimes.
oh, even more, yeah.
Yeah, all lifetimes, and also in between lifetimes too. So when we venture into the spirit world after death, the guardian angel accompanies us right until the point where we merge back with the soul. So the guardian angel knows us better than any other being in the universe.
Wow.
Now, I wondered, would you like me to tell you a little bit about your guardian angel? Because I can see them very clearly behind you.
Oh, yes, please. If they're showing. Yeah.
So your guardian angel has a very, very distinct look. They present themselves as male, but there is something about their features which is also a little bit non-binary, I suppose, in the way in which their features are very refined and very beautiful. They're male very clearly because they're bearded, but they're a very, very beautiful male. So they have quite a classical Greek look. Their hair is very dark, their beard is very dark, their hair is shoulder length, and their hair and their beard has a slight kind of curl to it in the way in which the ancient Greek philosophers wore their hair. He presents himself as quite young, in his mid-20s. He has a slightly darker complexion to his skin. He has very coal-lined eyes. So actually, the more he's coming into focus, he looks a little bit more maybe Phoenician, ancient Phoenician maybe, than Greek. And his robe is quite a deep magenta pink. And at first, when he formed behind you, for a moment, he took on the form of a column. Now, sometimes guardian angels will take on animal forms or inanimate object forms, and those forms are significant. The column makes me think of the column of the temple, the column of the tree of life, the twin columns of the tree of life. And the column in the temple was it was a reflection or an allegory for the channels of energy in the body. So partly by taking on that form immediately and then shifting into his more human form, he's saying to you, there is a need to work upon the columns or streams of energy within your body, keeping them balanced, keeping them energized, keeping them straightened out in order to keep your connection aligned and anchored and sure. He may be, by taking on that slight Phoenician look, be encouraging you to look at the ancient Phoenician times and their philosophies and their mythologies. Magenta, once again, is a color which is very much about nurturing the self and taking nutrients from the universe that we need, whether that's breath work, whether that's mantra, whether that's sacred song, whether that's getting out into nature, in order to feed ourselves and strengthen our light quotient and raise our vibrations. His wings, interestingly, are a bit kind of salt and pepper. So part of the wings are black, part of the wings are white. Once again, which gives me the impression that he's talking about the importance of balance. His name is Naradiel, N-A-R-A-D-I-E-L, and that name, you would need to research that to see what that other secrets it's got for you. The crystal that he's talking about for you to use to connect with him would be demorturite, and the scent or smell would be myrrh, and the calling card would be a a slight sensation of fluttering in the heart, almost like a feeling of a palpitation, more on the left-hand side than the right-hand side, but also a slight headiness, almost like a little bit like a ringing in the ear, but a feeling of suddenly feeling a little bit ungrounded or dizzy, and that's when his energy is drawing close. And the final thing that he wants to give you is a symbol, and the symbol is the symbol of a swan. That's a symbol that you need to look out for also as a bit of a calling card for him, but the energy of swan is very much about grace and flow and trusting in the universe and allowing the universe to guide you and lead you to where you need to be.
Oh wow, thank you, Edwin, that was so insightful.
That's all right.
God, the first thing that came to my mind is, wow, my guardian angel is very good looking. Yeah. So that's good to know. Yeah, wow, that's so insightful. So do you again a lot of it you obviously see with your own eyes, but a lot of it you also get from intuition and from your psychic centers, right?
Yeah, so my way of working has always been a bit of a combination. My clairvoyance was the first thing to develop, then my mediumistic connection was the second thing to develop, and my mediumistic connection, my channeling ability, is a combination of clairaudience. So sometimes I hear words inside my head, kind of dictation, and also clairsentience, which is a kind of knowing. So I will see a symbol and know what it means. It's like an instant download of information, and it just kind of unfolds inside my head. Clairsentience is absolutely, in my experience, my opinion, and always what the guides have said to me, the most important gift, far more important than clairvoyance is. Clairvoyance and clairaudience relies upon interpretation. You're having constantly to bypass the interrupting consciousness of your brain, whereas clairsentience, knowing is knowing. It requires no interpretation. It completely bypasses your psychological resistance, and yeah, a much more useful gift to develop, and it's a gift of the heart.
Oh wow. Wow, that's so interesting. Do you think a lot more people have clairsentience than the other ones?
I think it's where we're heading towards. I think there was a big onus on clairvoyance, and to a certain degree there still is. I think people unfortunately believe that that's the highest pinnacle of psychical and spiritual development, which is absolutely not the case. The Tibetans, for instance, often say to their students, you know, you'll go through a phase where you'll start to see things, and you'll start to see dead people, and you'll start to see colors, and you must ignore those things and move beyond those things, because those things are another form of illusion. So yeah, I think more people are developing clairsentience. The rise in empathy, I think, is taking people towards clairsentience. It's one of the stepping stones in that direction. But I think we've still got a little bit of a way to go to let go of this misconception of the importance of clairvoyance.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely been the one that's been, I guess, focused on the most. So I think, and also there was one point at which I thought, oh, I really want to see, but then I guess if I see, then I'm completely ignoring all of my other senses. So I guess the whole point is that you develop your other senses before you can see.
Yeah, and I think, you know, sight is great. I mean, you know, seeing is believing, people say, and that's fine. But there is a real fine line between hallucinating and having genuine clairvoyant experience. And I think there are lots of people out there who think they're hallucinating or are actually clairvoyant, and also, unfortunately, there's a few people out there who think they're clairvoyant when actually they're hallucinating. And you have to, as a clairvoyant, constantly be double and triple checking yourself that you're not just forcing a vision out of your head into your kind of clairvoyant vision. So it's a really tricky, difficult ability to deal with. And in the beginning, there's no guarantee that you're going to see nice things. Sometimes you see quite horrible things, and it can be terrifying. So that kind of shifts as you raise your vibration and move your frequency away from those things. But in the beginning, it can be really scary. And people come to me and they say, well, I want to see, but I only want to see nice things. And I say, well, unfortunately, that's not how it works. You know, if you're going to open your sight, then you're going to open your sight to the good and the bad and the ugly, really. So you have to have a certain amount of metal to deal with potentially what you're going to open your vision to.
Yeah, Exactly, totally. I know you have to go soon, but do we have a little bit of time for a short message from the
Absolutely.
angels?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'll just close my eyes. It'll take me a few moments just to link into the energy, and then I'll start to speak and chat away and deliver a message for all of us, hopefully, at this moment in time.
Okay, thank you.
It is with great love, great light, great truth that I, the Archangel Gabriel, am provided with this wondrous opportunity to step forward and to communicate this message to you all at this moment in time. During this time of year, it would be true to say that I am the angel who is most famous because of the part that I played within that story which is now known as the Nativity. I was the angel of the Annunciation, the messenger of the divine sent to the Mother Mary in order to provide her with the prophecy of what was to come. And I was also responsible in guiding those other presences to the Holy Family when they took refuge in the manger. Some people believe that I was also the Star of Bethlehem, but in truth this was a different archangel entirely, an archangel called Raphael, who was the guardian angel of the baby Jesus. Raphael has now long since been promoted to a different position, as Jesus is now an ascended master and no longer needs a guardian angel to steer him. Raphael is the grandfather of all guardian angels, and all those seeking to make a connection with their guardian angel can turn to him first for help and assistance there. So what is my message for you all at this moment in time? Christmas is a very difficult period for many. It is very stressful and very taxing. It comes at the end of a very long year. It forces people into situations that they do not usually have to allow themselves to be in, such close proximity to family members that they may have become estranged from throughout the year. Those people who have no family, those people who have no friends, those people who have no home find Christmas particularly challenging. It brings their thoughts to focus on all those things that they do not have or do not possess in comparison to those that do. But all of mankind has something, and that is the company and love of the guardian angel, and through it, the presence of the divine. The guardian angel was created by mankind, by the divine source, the God, the goddess, the great spirit, the great central sun and moon, call it what you will. The guardian angel was created as an expression of the divine's love, so that a part of the divine could remain with mankind always, in and out and in between incarnation, ever and always present by their side, steering them and leading them and guiding them towards their highest good, their greatest potential, the fulfillment of their spiritual purpose and reason for being. The guardian angel knows all about your past lives, your karma, your inherent psychical and spiritual potential and ability. It will endeavor to steer you to the right person at the right time, to the right place for yourself and for the benefit of others, through synchronicities and serendipities and omens and portents and visions and messages and symbols that you will receive in meditations and in dreams. It will offer you comfort and direction and strength and healing and protection and love and light. Part of the guardian angel resides always within the body of the soul, whilst another part of the guardian angel descends with that incarnating presence on earth and is always and ever with them. It is the closest spiritual presence on a vibrational level to you than any other that you might work with or meet, even if you are conscious of it or not. So whoever you are, wherever you are, whether you be homeless or in a home, whether you be with family or not, you are never alone. The presence of the divine is with you through the presence of the guardian angel, a presence that loves you unconditionally, that does not judge, that seeks only for your greater good to be made manifest on earth. A presence that you can open up to more by listening to the small, still voice that speaks through your heart, the voice of the guardian angel that guides you. A presence that, when called upon to intercede, can act on your behalf in order to hold you and heal you and protect you and guide you and endeavor to bring your life into focus and greater grace and flow. But as with all the angels, the guardian angel requires permission in order to intercede. Your free will can sometimes block the guardian angel from performing certain tasks on your behalf. And so you must always remember to reach out to it and to ask it for help and assistance. This year then, as you move through Christmas into 2020, remember the presence of your guardian angel and remember its link back to the guardian angel of the Master Jesus through the Archangel Raphael. And remember that link to me, the Archangel Gabriel, who featured so strongly within the story of the Nativity. I, a presence that will also be close during this Christmas time, offering you the gift of my power, of grace and cleansing, of flow and acceptance, of the power of will and vision and intuition, of the power of transmutation. As you leave then this year behind, call upon my grace to cleanse and clear you, so that you will be free of anything that you do not want to take into the new year, so that you might enter into the new year in a state of true grace and flow, ready to accept the will of the divine that guides and steers you on. In love then, know the truth of my words, know the love that is within them and behind them, and be supported and encouraged by their presence, the gift of the divine. In perfect love and perfect trust then, I take my leave and leave with you my blessing.
Ooh, wow. Thank you, Edwin. That was so beautiful.
You're welcome.
That really resonated with me. Yeah, especially just everything from, you know, transmuting, transforming, leaving behind what we no longer need from this year to welcoming the new year. Yeah, that definitely, I think a lot of people are going through that right now and transmuting, transforming a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. Wow. Yeah, thank you so much for that. That was really, really amazing again to have you here as always. So if people want to find you, they can go on your website, edwincourtenay.co.uk.
Yes, absolutely.
And also
they can also find me at the College of Psychic Studies in London. I'm doing quite a lot there next year. All sorts of different topics and workshops and lectures and what have you. Yeah,
you have regular workshops and lectures, which are amazing again. So for anyone who wants to get in touch with Edwin, then do feel free to get in touch with him. Or
and you can find my email address via the website as well if anybody wants to contact me directly.
Yeah, perfect. Well, again, Edwin, thank you so much for your time. This was such a pleasure again to have you.
You're welcome.
And maybe we'll catch up again in 2020 to see what the angels messages are for then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.